Spotlight.
This one on? This one on?
This one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have your attention, please? Hello, can I have your attention? Thank you. Let's have the chatter down. Thank you. Attention up here. Now, we're going to have a few very short personal testimonies about Dennis. It is not possible to fit all of you in this room. So this is also being streamed in the main hall where we had the service. So if there's anyone outside who can hear my voice but not see what's going on, we wanted to see something, you're welcome to move into the main hall there. So I'm just going to call up a few people in order, and I'm going to start with Sue Dalton. Thank you, Sue, if you can make your way to the front.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say a few things about Dennis. And when you lose somebody you love, it's like a physical pain in your heart. And you could even ask, is it worth loving? But over time, you know that the memories will bring smiles rather than pain. And you understand the truth, that it's better to have loved than lost than never to have loved at all. So that's how I feel about Ben. We were utterly privileged to have known him and to have him share himself with us. We talked about everything under the sun, and he used to say that initially he had been surprised to find out how human we were. And I think he probably also meant how silly we were. But our talk was always affected and directed by the truth of God, and everything always came back to God. Dennis never stopped his quest for truth, and this is why he has now found himself in heaven with God, the ultimate truth, light, and love and life. I've learned things lately about Dennis that have shown how much he's spoken to people's lives. He never valued himself enough or understood how great an impact he was having on others. I hope somehow he can hear today what he meant to so many people. We will forever be grateful for the wonderful week we spent together just before Den left this life. We did all the things that he loved most: long car trips in the country, stopping off at roadhouses, staying with Dave and Fleur, and having so many laughs with Isaac and Aaliyah, who adored him and he them, and helping at the shows, giving out the Bible wall plaques, and sharing God's love and words with others. I believe God gave he and us this time, knowing what was to come. On the Sunday, Dennis told Greg how much it meant to him, that verse, and to hear those words that God will wipe away all tears in heaven. And literally 2 days later, it happened for Den. On Monday, the 2nd of October, we gave Dennis a last hug late in the evening, and he left for the little unit that had been his home for the last 10 years. On Tuesday, he texted at the same time of the evening that he had come down with the gastro and cold that had been in our family. We were both sad that we wouldn't be able to catch up for lunch on Wednesday in the city, which was our custom, and Belle went for her orthodontic appointments. On Wednesday, I became worried that Den wasn't answering my text, and that evening we got dear John to go and check on him, and Den had already been with his beloved Jesus for some time. It has been a tremendous shock. It makes me keenly aware how fragile we are, one breath away from eternity, but also how vital it is that we let the people in our lives know right now, while we can, how valuable they are and how much we love them. So may we learn this and love one another more, and that this is my legacy from Dennis.
I'd like to invite up now Sally Howe. Sally? Thanks, Sally.
Dennis was a good friend to many of us, as is evident here today. Dennis and I clicked a number of years ago. We've spent hours together talking about everything, from the serious, hard things of life, where we knew exactly where the other was coming from, to light-hearted conversations, to jokes and stories where we could have a good belly laugh, as well as good spiritual discussions. Dennis knew his Bible well and loved nothing more than a long, deep discussion of Bible prophecy, at which point I stopped talking and just listened, mainly because his knowledge of this subject far exceeded mine. On numerous occasions over the past few years, Tony, Nathan and I would meet with Dennis for lunch after church or go out for dinner during the week. And he always insisted on paying and then never failing to go straight home afterwards and add the expense to his meticulously kept expenditure spreadsheet. Every time Tony would argue with him, next time we pay, but it never happened. We usually left it to Dennis to organise the venue, as he would always say to us, you guys need to broaden your horizons and experiment with different cultures. Only a few weeks ago, Dennis organised dinner out. It's so hard to believe that that was our last meal together. Dennis would come and stay with us some weekends. It was hard to convince him at first, as he never wanted to be in a position. But once he got over that little hiccup, he was happy to drop hints that it was time that he came and stayed again. Dennis would plant himself at our dining room table, observing our crazy, loud, chaotic family, so different to his quiet life in his little city unit. He got used to us fairly quickly, and then he'd start talking, and there was no stopping him, just as loud as the rest of us. I'd apologise about our family, but he kept telling me how much he loved the craziness. When Tony was working on Kangaroo Island, Dennis came with me for a few weekend visits. Again, we would talk each other's ears off on the drive and visit all the tourist spots. He really enjoyed our trips to KI. Getting out of the city at first was a bit of a challenge for him to the huge wide open spaces on Kangaroo Island. It was a bit daunting, but in the end, he overcame this and enjoyed exploring with me. I remember one trip, we stopped at a picnic spot and crossed the swinging bridge, where we had great fun getting it to rock back and forth as much as possible. This led to a path down to the beach. As we were walking, we noticed a sign saying, beware of snakes. This scared me enough to say, hey, Dennis, do we really want to do this? Let's go back. Dennis was adamant we would be fine, so he convinced me to continue. However, very politely, and being the gentleman he was, he insisted I go first, down a sandy, narrow path with long grass on either side. Thankfully, we made it through and enjoyed a lovely afternoon. Dennis loved working with kids. Last year, he joined Sheba and I in teaching our Sunday school class. He thoroughly enjoyed the challenge of this rowdy, lively class and would report back every time how well the lesson went and the discussions that they had. He loved challenging the kids, taking on subjects that really had the kids thinking, topics that Sheba and I shied away from. Only a matter of weeks ago, he produced a spreadsheet, as he does, for the next 6 months of lessons and enthusiastically filled out the dates and lessons that he'd be available to teach. He has been a real blessing and a great help. The kids and his fellow teachers will miss him. We have really enjoyed getting to know Dennis and have welcomed him into our family and life, both here at Umley and our own family. We will miss Dennis, but we are grateful to have had him in our lives since then.
Thank you, Sally. I will now invite Jenna up to the front. Jenna, who's a long-term friend of Dennis here at the church as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Yanhi. My name is Yanhi and I've also known as Jenna, that's my English name. And Dennis and I first met at the church and have been friends for a little over 2 years. Since I started a Bible study with John A. Dennis was the one in the Bible study groups, and we've been doing Bible study for the past 2 years every Monday with John A. And we were able to get to know each other better as a friends. After the Bible study, we sometimes hang out and eat some dinners and we share some gospels together and how we are going through our life. And we've been sharing our difficulties in things together, and we encourage one another and each other. And he was a very genuine and loyal and supportive person in our Bible study group. And also, Dennis was a good friend who had a strong faith to God, and he was a person who loved helping one another and was happy to be able to help other people as well. And just as Jesus loves us. He helped me to grow within God when I was having a hard time and working in the darkness. He encouraged me a lot in sending me some Bible verses through the messages, and I was able to overcome my situations and things. And like Brett said, he was loyal, genuine, and supportive person, and I will miss him, but I'm happy for him that he's in heaven with God. Thank you.
Now invite Alma Morton. Alma, up with you.
Yeah, my name is Alma Morton and Robert's my husband. We have known Dennis for several years, but it's during the last few months we have made, excuse me, have had more to do with him and got to know him a lot better. We have had him over a few times for meals, which he also always appreciated. He was willing to help with any computer problems I had, and when he came, he would ask if there was anything he could look at for me when he was at our place. He had no intention of doing it for money. Dennis was grateful for meals, whatever was on the menu, and I've got to know a few things he really enjoyed. Robert and Dennis had meaningful discussions over the meal table of their experiences and search for truth. As a man who was always ready to express his gratitude, chat and befriend others, help others when needed, was punctual and always came at the time he said he would. I also found how readily he replied to a text message, unless of course he was on a work project. And so it came as a surprise that on Thursday morning, the 5th of October, I hadn't had a reply from him. He was due to come that evening to be with us for dinner, and I had some of his favourite things ready to prepare. We loved him dearly and appreciated his interest in us as elderly people. Thank you.
Sundar, you want to come up here, please? Thank you.
Most of you don't know my name is Sundar, and when you meet Dennis, like you can in his face, you can see how big his heart is. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You can hear it. Few weeks ago, during a brief car journey, and as Greg said, Dennis was a very good help in terms of like Bible part ministry, and I went to the Adelaide showgrounds and I parked my car at his little unit that he used to drive me to the Adelaide showgrounds, and then he stopped me, and at the end of the day, he will come and pick you up and bring us back to collect my car. So we were talking on our car and we were chatting, and Dennis and I had a very precious opportunity to reflect on our life and discover numerous shared experiences. We both hail from India and embarked on a journey, a separate journey to Australia, where we both embraced the Christian faith in Australia. However, one profound connection bound us more tightly than anything else. Our deep and heartful relationship with Donald's family, who welcomed both of us as we were on their own. What deeply touched both of us was unconditional love and care Gregor Sue affectionately, we call, probably he never called them you mom and dad, but I know deep down he knows that he calls you mom and dad. And we had a privilege of first-hand experience of what it truly meant to be loved and cared for. And we experienced the genuine unconditional love from both of them. Although Dennis may not have always outwardly expressed this sentiment, I'm certain he had a wealth of love in his heart for this church family and mom and dad, we both of them. Dennis and I had plans to meet for a coffee during the very week he left us. He still owes me that catch up, and I promised that the first thing I'll ask him when we reunite in heaven, where are we having our first coffee? Today, as we celebrate Dennis' life, let us cherish and love and connect the enriched journey he has with us, and he will forever hold a special place in my heart and all of our hearts as a brother, as a friend, and a wonderful, beautiful soul, and where you can see it in his face and it speaks to you. because of that beaming light in his face. And wherever he was, and he used to show the light of Christ in his face. So, but I also said, believe with you, but also cherish with you that he's with Christ. Thanks so much.
The final two people that I welcome, firstly, Brendan Thomas, who knew Dennis through BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, and then with Focus. Thank you, Brendan.
Yes, I got to meet Dennis around 2013, 2014 in Adelaide. And we were in the same small group in BSF and Bible study group in the city. And yeah, I was impressed by the way he was really trying to understand God and understand the scriptures. And later on, I invited a friend from BSF to Focus group at university, and Dennis came along, and he stuck around and didn't leave for a couple of years. And we had some really great times going on camps and doing fun things together like that. Dennis had a really cheeky sense of humor, and he'd bring out some, wisecracks off the cuff. I can't remember many of them now, but anyway, he was very fun to be around. I remember we had one trip with some friends from Focus to Aldinga, and we're there for one weekend. And he was teaching a girl from Hong Kong how to cook roti, and she couldn't say it right. She kept saying roti, and then he said no roti, trying to get the roll. And then when she was like cooking, it's like, now what are you cooking? Just having a little stick of it. Yeah, but we had lots of fun together. I always let him choose where we went for dinner, because if I chose an Indian place, to be like, no, that one's bad. We're not going to that one. You go to the good one. Taught me how to, eat with my hand and all those fun sort of things. Yeah, but I really appreciate it. We had a lot of fun times. So he was a real good friend that I could share how I really felt. He wouldn't just kind of leave it at, how's life or whatever. He really wanted to know how things were going with me, with family, with my faith. And I really appreciate it. We could share with each other on that deeper level. Yeah, it was a real friend that I could confide in. And I'm really thankful to God for the time that we had together.
Fantastic.
This is on behalf of my brother, Jonathan Williams, who's currently in Canberra. Unfortunately, he can't be here, but he was very good friends with Dennis. I wished I was present to share with you all some fond memories I had of my friendship with Dennis, but thanks to my sister Natalie for speaking on my behalf. Dennis and I shared a lot of conversations and time together in the early years when he first came to Unley Christian Faculty. I remember catching up for dinners at his unit. Nothing fancy, usually Domino pizzas or KFC with cherry beer. That was his favorite. We would spend hours talking about everything, about work, about church and Christianity, and about our hope in Jesus. I have a lot of stories to share with all of you, but there's one in particular that I wanted to share. Sometime in 2016, I think, Dennis was interested in buying a car, so he started searching for a small, compact, and efficient car. You see, Dennis wasn't keen on a new flashy car. He was practical and wanted something reasonable and fit for purpose. One day, I get a call from Dennis, and he tells me he has potentially found a second-hand small white car from a dear old lady. According to Dennis, this was a very good deal, but there was a catch. The car had a dead battery. So Dennis and I brainstormed possible ways in which we could get a new battery for the car. Neither of us were mechanics by trade, nor were we good with our hands when it came to cars. After several days, maybe a week, we found a solution. Dennis had earlier signed up for roadside assistance, and it was possible for them to replace the car battery. However, the car had to be on a roadside. The small white car with the dead battery was in the garage of a building complex. So on one weeknight, Dennis and I went to the building complex and we pushed a small white car out of the garage and into the road. We could have been mistaken for two guys trying to steal the car. We eventually got the car to a safe location on the roadside. We then called the roadside assistance number, and while we waited for them about an hour, we talked, we laughed, and we shared. We talked about the past, the present, and what was ahead. We talked about salvation in Christ and about God's incomparable love for us. Eventually, the car started, the battery was replaced, and that night, Dennis got his small white car. That night was a memorable experience for the two of us. We often talked about it years later. It wasn't just the fact that we worked out a way to get the battery replaced, push the car, or manage to get a good deal on the car. It was the time we spent sharing with one another and developing our friendship. Dennis, my brother. Oh, how I miss the times we shared. Oh, how I long to get back to that night where we just talked and laughed and shared. But that is the past, and here today is the present we want for you. And I look forward to the future, for great is our hope in our Lord Jesus, and we will meet again. All praise and glory to God.
There's a common theme in all of this, isn't there? Everyone who's spoken has shared about the deep conversations that they had with Dennis. And that was something that characterised him. I know on the last Saturday when I saw him, so we didn't talk all that much on a deep level. But as I gave him a hug goodbye and we booked him lunch for the next Sunday, he said, then we can talk from that, like that. And characterised the conversation that we had with Dennis. The last person I've got now is Benji. So thank you.
I'm really honored that we've all been part of Dennis's life over the last few years, not just in the church, but also colleagues and friends. And now Dennis has been connected with people of different age groups, from kids all the way to the elderly. He's done really well in this regard, way better than myself. About the same time last month, the game was sort of like a means to spend time. So we were talking through things. He was really good at gaming, and I would ask him for help. And at that time, he said, "You should know by now what to do." That's what he told me. Little did I know that there was a deeper meaning to that. I thank the Lord that I could spend that day with him, even though I was in Melbourne. And I'm going to listen as you would. And for those who would love to meet Dennis, I would encourage you all to think about Jesus, and Filipinos will be able to see him. Thank you.
Brings all the formal parts of the service for the afternoon tea.
There was no net today.
Turn off all microphones here. And you're all right.
5 till 6:30 there was not. From last night.
Everyone.
We didn't. We came at 6:30.